A ruler once believed that fear could control faith. He thought power was eternal. But what happened?
There was once a city filled with life, but now it stood drowning in silence and fear. Across the outskirts, the earth was being torn open, deep trenches carved into the desert ground.
Massive piles of wood were gathered, as if the city was preparing for something dark and unimaginable.
Families whispered behind closed doors. No one understood what was coming, but every heart felt the fear.
Above them all stood a ruler, blinded by pride, believing the city belonged to him alone.
The sky darkened slowly, as if even the heavens were witnessing what was about to unfold.
Then the night arrived, and the trenches were set ablaze beneath the dark desert sky.
Flames rose toward the heavens as smoke covered the city in darkness. Mothers held their children close as the glow of the fire reflected in their eyes. He ruled with armies, wealth, and absolute authority, yet something disturbed his heart.
The people obeyed him outwardly, but their hearts bowed to someone greater.
This was not merely a punishment, it was a test of faith, written in fire. Then a dangerous thought entered his mind. If I rule this land, why am I not their lord? When pride fills the heart, wisdom slowly disappears. And slowly, he began to see himself not just as king, but as lord. That single thought of arrogance would lead an entire nation into a trial of fire. Among the king's strongest tools of control was a man who mastered illusion. But time had weakened him. His hands trembled, and his strength began to fade. He stood before the throne and made a request. Choose a boy to carry my knowledge forward. The king understood clearly. Without deception, his authority would weaken. That decision would unknowingly ignite a truth stronger than any throne. The soldiers searched through the city, examining every child with careful eyes.
Among them stood a quiet boy, unknown, ordinary, unnoticed by the world. From that day forward, his mornings would lead him to the palace. Each day, he entered the grand palace, unaware of the path that awaited him. One day, on his way to the palace, he heard a voice unlike any he had heard before.
Under the shade of a simple tree, an old man spoke of one Lord above all creation.
These were not words of illusion, but words of truth that stirred his heart.
From that moment, he began living between two worlds. From that moment, he began living between two worlds. And within his young heart, a spark of faith began to grow.
Each morning, he sat before the sorcerer, learning the arts of illusion and deception.
And in the afternoon, he returned to the old monk, where words of truth filled the air. He feared the day the sorcerer would discover his secret visits.
Every day, the question grew louder inside him. Which path is truly real? Every day, The question grew louder inside him. Which path is truly real?
No one dared to move forward. The crowd stepped back in fear.
The young boy stepped forward, determined to discover the truth.
He raised his hands and prayed, "O Allah, if this path is truth, grant me clarity."
By sunset, the entire city had heard. The young boy had done what no one else could.
But he would always say, "I heal no one. It is Allah alone who grants cure."
And one by one, hearts began to believe in the Lord of the boy.
What began as a single prayer was now becoming a challenge to the throne.
Among those who heard of the boy was a blind advisor within the king's own palace. With gifts in his hands, he went to the boy, hoping for sight once more.
He prayed sincerely, and by Allah's permission, sight returned.
When he returned to the palace seeing clearly, the king demanded an answer. The king leaned forward and demanded, "Who restored your sight?" He replied calmly, "My Lord restored my sight." The king's face hardened. "Do you claim another Lord besides me?" He did not hesitate. Our Lord is Allah alone. There he stood, young in age, yet firm in faith. Soon, the young boy himself was brought before the throne. The king accused him. "You have turned my people against me." The throne trembled with rage, for truth had now entered the palace itself.
The boy answered without fear, "I call them only to Allah."
Under pressure, the truth was revealed. There was an old teacher behind the boy's faith. The old monk was brought before the throne, calm despite the danger before him. The king ordered him abandon this belief and return to obedience. But the monk refused. His faith was not for sale.
And so, he chose faith over fear, becoming a symbol of steadfast belief.
The king turned to the boy and demanded, "Abandon your faith!"
The boy replied without hesitation, "My Lord is Allah alone."
At the summit, surrounded by soldiers, he turned his heart to Allah.
And in that moment the earth trembled, and he was saved by divine will.
When he returned alive from the mountains, the king's anger deepened. This time, the king commanded, "Take him to the sea and cast him into its depths."
Suddenly, the waters surged, and he was saved once again. He closed his eyes and prayed, "O Allah, you are sufficient for me."
When he returned safely from the sea, the palace fell into stunned silence. The king realized No force could harm him without a greater permission.
Then the boy said, "You will never defeat me unless you do as I command."
Gather the people in one place and bind me to a trunk before them all.
Then say, "In the name of Allah, the Lord of this boy." The king took the arrow and declared the words the boy had taught him.
We believe in the Lord of the boy, echoed across the land.
He ordered deep trenches to be dug across the desert plain.
When the king heard their declaration, his rage knew no limits.
Wood was gathered, and flames were prepared to rise high into the sky. Whoever refuses to abandon their faith will face the fire.
An elderly man whispered, "My body is weak, but my Lord is strong." And in that moment, courage filled her heart once more. Then came a mother, holding her child close, her heart trembling. And they remained firm, their faith brighter than the fire before them.
The desert burned through the night, as tyranny believed it had silenced the truth.
The desert burned through the night, as tyranny believed it had silenced the truth. The wind rose fiercely, and the flames turned against those who lit them.
The banners of false authority fell, and the tyrant's strength vanished.
When the storm passed, only ashes remained where tyranny once stood.
Oppression may burn bright for a moment, but divine justice is inevitable, and faith never dies.